Hey, Merry Christmas, everybody. Coming up on Mountain Hermeneutics, we're going to talk about the reason for the season, the incarnation. So keep it right here. You're listening to Mount Hermeneutics, where three Marines give their perspective on God, faith, and spirituality with a heavy lean on the divine council worldview. This is not your grandma's Sunday school, nor is it always for the Christian faint of heart. Nothing about who we are or what we say make us experts. But you better believe we'll have a take, and perhaps it won't suck.
Yeah. Okay.
Billy Bob is good in every single thing he does, and I can't stand him because he looks like my grandfather.
Is that right?
He looks almost exactly like my white grandpa.
Wow. I assume you didn't have to clarify.
I would just say he definitely does look like the one from Alabama. Remember that Mount Hermeneutics is free and available on all podcast platforms, including YouTube. And if you're watching it, or if you're seeing our faces right now, then we're on YouTube because that's where we do the video. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, share the show with everybody you've ever met in your entire life, and we would be appreciating. Go ahead and we're gonna talk Christmas, so interact, right? Anyway, if it's your first time with us, I am Andre. That's Matt. That's Brian. Fellas, what's happening?
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. As you can tell, we're all wearing super dark colors, so we're crazily festive today for Christmas.
I'm in a Christmas shirt, though.
Yeah. I am not. I'm not in a Christmas shirt.
You look like you're in mourning.
Well, yeah, I don't know why.
It's winter. It's winter.
It's sad, seasonally afflicted disorder. Affected.
It's always darkest before the.
It's always. Let's see what we got here. It is freezing outside. It's 58 degrees here in Oceanside, California.
I might actually have you beat.
That's what it is here.
It's 62.
Exactly what it is.
That's global warming, and it's because of all the cows that fart there in Oklahoma, where the wind goes rustling down the plains.
I don't think there's as many cows farting in Oklahoma because they come here to die.
Well,
they fart their last fart.
They just shit themselves like we fitting to die. Goodbye.
That was a strange turn of conversation. Yeah, that was unexpected. Clearly unscripted.
So,
Merry Christmas.
Talking about the incarnation.
Oh, okay.
What do you got, guys?
First, we'll go through rapid fire.
Oh, all right.
Rapid fire, Christmas edition, the incarnation edition of Rapid Fire. Here we go.
Let's go.
How is the incarnation different from God appearing in the Old Testament?
Because he stayed.
He became fully human.
Could salvation have happened without the incarnation?
Yes.
No.
Did Jesus experience fear, doubt, or ignorance?
100%.
Agreed.
Did Jesus grow in knowledge and wisdom?
Yes.
Yes.
Why was the virgin birth necessary?
No idea.
Because he had to be God. Because his father had to be God, so he would be in nature God. So.
Okay. Did Jesus know?
I could elaborate, but then
no, that's okay.
Rapid fire.
I almost said something super inappropriate, and I'm really glad that I didn't.
I'm glad you didn't too. Thank you. For that.
Did Jesus know everything while on Earth?
No.
Is Jesus still incarnate after the resurrection?
Yes.
That's a really good question. I have no idea.
Yes.
All right, and that concludes Rapid Fire. Good job, fellas.
Yay!
Yay!
I think what's amazing about our Rapid Fire is that Brian, because not only did Jesus learn, Brian also learned, and we actually rapid fired, right? So quick, short answers.
We're growing.
But with that said, there's a few questions that there's some hesitation or some disagreement. So maybe we'll go back in those questions and kind of flesh them out
run it back
for the show.
I do blame you for my initial supposed failure at rapid fire.
Because I didn't give you the rules straight up.
Well, you asked like essay questions that you wanted yes or no answers to. So,
Brian, every question's an essay question if you try hard enough. And conversely, every question can be a short answer if you try hard enough.
listeners, just decide this for us. Just tell them they're wrong, so I don't have to explain it to them.
I mean, it wouldn't be the first time I was told I was wrong, even though the person telling me I'm wrong is wrong. But it's a thing. So where was I? Want to go with the first? We want to go down the
Sure,
questions
let's just
again?
run it back. Yeah.
Okay. So of course we know that God incarnate. That's why we have Christmas. But how is that different than God appearing in the Old Testament? So he
He
has all these
owned,
appearances in the Old Testament. He's
yeah,
giving instructions. He's writing laws. He's
Walking around with Noah or with Enoch.
right stomping around in the Garden of Eden.
he only appeared in human form, but was not born as a human being,
Yeah.
growing, living his life. He wasn't mortal. He was fully God, but only apparently human, and then he just went back to heaven or left this plane or
So is it like a visionary experience that's real?
well, a visionary experience suggests that it's like it's something that's happening to the person, but not necessarily happening objectively. I think he appeared objectively. I think if you had a video camera recording the encounter with Abraham or with Moses, you would have seen what's described in the scriptures as a third party. So it wasn't merely a vision on their part. I mean, unless the scripture just says it's a vision, in which case that's what it was. But
But then
yeah,
be divine defining what a vision is. Okay, sure.
No, I think I agree. In all of the other instances, he appeared and then he did not. Right? He disappeared.
He's like, I'm
And
out.
and when Christ was born and incarnated, begotten, whatever the terminology we want to use, he was here for the duration of his life. Right? Like he was born as an infant and then learned to walk, cut teeth.
He even
Right?
had to
Like
like he had to like gestate,
he had to like become potty trained.
which
Like,
is
he had to eat food. Good point. He had to void his bladder and his bowels, right? Like all those things that were human, he had to be human. And he also died.
so
He
that's
had to
an
die.
interesting based on a thread topic we had yesterday the other day about abortion, right? And one of our friends was asking nonsense questions, but like when's the clump of cells
Mhm.
so was Jesus a clump of cells, right? So
At what
so
point was he
right
incarnated
so
by the Holy Spirit? And yeah, that's a great question. Was his first cell
right
divine? And
was that
then
was that part of his human development, right? So
yeah.
that's usually my argument for anti-abortion stuff. It's a stage in human development.
Mhm.
So was Jesus at any point a stage of human development when he was just a clump of cells in Mary's womb? I'm gonna go with yes.
Yeah.
But
I think it would be really weird if he was gestating and then magically in the second trimester he became divine, right? Like that wouldn't really make any
well,
sense.
the scripture is pretty explicit that Mary conceived by the Holy Spirit,
Hmm.
like from the moment of conception, um, he was fully God and fully man.
Hmm.
oh, fully man, even though he's only a couple of cells.
Hmm.
Got it.
Well, fully
Got it.
human,
Hugh,
but
Got it.
human.
Human. Hugh man.
Yeah.
No,
He
I think
wasn't
we're I
he
think we're
wasn't
violently
instantly
agreeing.
a full human. He was instantly a human that was developing.
Mm.
a one-celled human.
I mean, he wasn't jacked all of a sudden,
I mean,
like Korean
It
Jesus.
if
says
he
that
was if he was even close to Korean Jesus, he was.
I'm gonna picture, because Ricky Bobby always pictures him as a baby Jesus. I picture him as Jack Jesus. So
I, I picture him as kind of a svelte, very
like
athletic.
you know what he is? His body's like the dude that's a janitor that deadlifts millions of pounds in front of people.
oh
That's
the
that's Jesus to me. He walks around
The little Russian
uh,
guy.
with his little tool belt, carpenter. He's like, what do you want? I'll just deadlift that because I'm divine and jacked. So
He
not
had
that
to
he
be
would.
he had to be kind of jacked to carry his cross as far as he did after he had been brutalized. Because a
I mean,
little scrawny carpenter's not pulling that off.
He probably only carried the cross beam, but
But
like that was still pretty heavy.
yeah,
after getting your ass beat too.
yeah, after being
Like so,
beaten, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Not to, you know,
Turn this into the passion.
But yeah, yeah.
yeah,
This is wrong holiday, right?
or not to question his, you know,
His badassery,
his swollenness,
dude. He's
but
jacked, and you can't convince me otherwise. Like he
I
is
wouldn't try
peptides.
to.
He's roids without roids.
I
Because
just don't think he was super jacked because their protein intake was pretty moderate.
some say that he ate no protein.
Well,
Who
then
says
he
that?
definitely wasn't super jacked. Well, he couldn't have eaten no protein. You're saying no meat.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I
Well,
know who said that. So we uh
Trey said, moving
Godfrey.
along. Question two.
We have we settled question one?
Yep.
let me
Okay.
guess, was your friend the friend who said that, were they a vegan?
No, actually a friend has never told me that.
Okay.
Okay, so good.
And they wouldn't.
First of all, I don't fucking hang out with vegans.
Okay, man. I'm sorry. I didn't
All
mean
right.
to.
Like
I
you think I hang out with people that don't eat meat? Like what am I doing?
You
I
could eat
didn't.
theirs.
I'm like, actually, hey, so when we go to a restaurant, yo, can I get you steaks?
Right.
Thanks, man. I'm trying to get jacked. So
So,
could salvation happen without the incarnation?
I think so.
can you explain that? Like what? Like how would salvation have happened without the
Oh,
incarnation?
I'm like you asking Matt to
Yeah.
explain it. I'm like, yo, I asked the question, man. You answer. Don't
Yeah.
ask
I
me
mean,
to
I'm
explain.
simply saying that God could have designed and divined a different plan, a different plot, a different storyline. Obviously, for the salvation and the way it happened to happen, the incarnation was necessary, which is why it happened.
Yeah, Brian, why are you trying to limit
I'm,
God?
I'm saying God could have picked who knows how many other paths. I think it'd be really weird to be like, this is the only way it could have happened, and God was backed into a corner. I'm struggling with that kind of
Well,
logic.
I don't think that it's that I'm limiting God. I think it's that the nature of what he the nature by the nature of his design for what humanity is supposed to be, and the nature of our corruption, the incarnation was necessary.
So a
Now,
prophet or an angel wouldn't have been sufficient?
No, no.
Okay.
So I'm saying I'm coming at a different way. Our
yeah,
salvation was necessary. The manner in which God designed salvation could have been different. Because it's not like we have past salvations we're using as a watermark, right, or a low bar, and we're
you're
saying, well,
just saying in a, you know, a vast range of infinite possibilities that we can't imagine. You're saying God could have come up with
yes,
something different. Yeah,
yes,
I understand that, and I don't agree with that. Not because I think that God isn't creative and can imagine a vast range of possibilities. I just think that
Like, why would he? He would just choose the perfect way, right? So this is the way.
right. Like I think that just by the logic of what we are and what salvation is, this is what had to happen. It had to be a an atoning sacrifice by somebody who is fully human and can adequately represent humanity, but isn't limited to a singular. He had to have no sins of his own and an infinite capacity to take on human sin. And in order to restore God's nature within us, he himself had to be God. And so he had the Savior had to be fully human and fully God in order to meet all of the requirements of salvation. So no, I don't think
yeah.
salvation could
I
have happened
and
without.
I get what you're saying, and my response is That's precisely the answer I would expect from an apologist. Like, I get it. Like, going back and going, well, yeah, because the way these scriptures line up, prophecy, blah, blah, the Bible. Yeah, of course it had to happen that way. Yeah, it's easy to say that after it happened. Like, I'm just saying it could have been something else. That's all.
Well, that's not the worst thing you've ever called me. So
We're
I'll
not going
take
to
it.
mention the worst thing he's ever called him because, I mean, it's family
Were
friendly
you were
ish,
there for that? Were you there for that?
probably.
Yeah, in the chow hall in Pensacola that one day. I don't know why. It just set me off.
Was that Dick Face?
That was it. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that's the worst thing you've ever been called.
It
Was it the
And
connotation?
I don't know.
I've tried to outdo it.
Was it was it the emphasis? Was it
I don't
is it
know.
because you're homophobic? Is it is it
I
what
we had been just like calling each other the most vile, obscene things we could think of. Like it was
as you
just
do when you're 19, right? Like
yeah, it's just what it was just a we were having a casual conversation interspersed with the worst insults for each other we could come up with. We were sitting down and he called me that and I don't know what it was. It just flipped a switch in me and
and the friendship almost ended that day. You almost got a samurai sword. Like you don't know how
He
close
never
you
drew,
were.
Brian never drew a sword against me.
that's true. I never did.
Noah's sword has been drawn.
A sword has been drawn, but not against me.
Yeah,
It was my
it's a different
roommate.
story. But that, yeah, I don't know what it was about that, but that just
I mean, sometimes you just don't know. Sometimes you just get triggered, as the kids say.
and he yeah.
So,
So moving right along, what was
why
the
why do we think that God incarnate experienced things like fear and doubt and ignorance?
Because he was fully man.
are you
It,
asking are you asking like how,
Well,
where did we get this
the
information?
first time I posed the question was, did he? You both said yes. And so why do we think
yeah.
that's yes?
So simply put, Brian can go dig into the the verses that support it, but just from a functional point of view, specifically linking back to everything Brian just said the last 5 minutes, if the crucifixion were to matter, if it was to be terrifying, if it was to be painful, if it was to be impactful at the level to which it had to be in order to um, be worthy of the event,
In a
then
simple word, to suffer.
it had to suck.
If you don't have
Yeah,
all these other
right.
emotions tied or learning experiences or a worldly type view, uh, even though you know you're
Mhm.
more, then
Yeah, yeah,
what's the point? Then you're really not
yeah.
then it's just God sacrificing himself for no reason, and you're just God and you don't
And
die
he's like,
anyway.
"Oh no, I'm gonna die. It
Right, yeah.
sucks." It had to be real. I use the I was having a conversation this is a long time ago.
But I think that's why I use the word ignorance. Does that fit?
I mean, look, young Jesus had to learn things, right?
Okay.
He wasn't a toddler that already knew how to do math. He didn't already speak fully perfect Aramaic when he was 5, right? Like his parents had to teach him, no, we don't say that. We say it like this,
Right.
right? Those kinds of things. Being perfect biblically doesn't mean he was a robot when he came
Right.
out of
So
the
so
womb.
this is kind of leading me down a weird rabbit hole. So is is a toddler throwing a temper tantrum a sin?
No,
I mean, I
Well,
don't think so either, but so
no.
like did he
He had to
there
learn.
is there
They
is
have to understand social structure and, why I can't do this and I must do that.
in the Bible there is this concept called the age of accountability. And fittingly, it comes from a passage that is about the incarnation. Um, it's Isaiah 7, where he's therefore the Lord himself will give you a sign. The virgin will conceive and give birth to a son, and will call him Emmanuel. He will be eating curds and honey when he knows enough to reject the wrong and choose the right. For before the boy knows enough to reject the wrong and choose the right, the land of the two kings you dread will be laid waste. the Lord will bring on you and your people and the house of your father a time unlike any since Ephraim broke away from Judah. So it's ultimately about someone who's going to be born at the time, but it has a like an ultimate meaning in the Messiah, but it's talking about so yeah, there's a time where a person grows into the knowledge of right and wrong, and that's where the Jews get the idea of an age of accountability. And so
There's actually a little verse, a little line in there, Brian, which as you were reading that verse, I wasn't familiar with that verse, that it said before he knows the difference between right and wrong. It's talking about Jesus, right?
yeah, that
Yeah.
didn't I
So I
read
mean,
that?
I didn't know that was there, but biblically, then there's direct evidence that he didn't always know everything.
Yeah,
I didn't know that
and yet
existed. This was all just me intuiting this based off of, broad level thought
yeah,
thinking about it.
and Luke 2 reads that verse 40, and the child grew and became strong. He was filled with wisdom, and the grace of God is with him.
Came strong.
I think in other verses he grew in wisdom. Um, and
So he didn't like bench press and deadlift.
Huh?
I
oh,
mean,
okay. And verse 52, and Jesus
it does say
grew
bench
in
press and deadlifting.
wisdom and
Oh,
stature and in favor with God and man, which is an idiom that they would just
right,
use to like, hey, the person's growing up.
Right.
Like, it doesn't mean that God favored him less
Right.
when he was younger. It
right.
just, but
So if you have this mission and you know this mission and you know more than others about your mission, why would you doubt?
I,
um,
I don't think he doubted towards the end, right? Like I don't think it was like I don't think he doubted his divinity. I don't think he doubted what his mission was. I don't think he doubted what the other side looked like. But like, that moment in in the garden before his crucifixion when he's sweating blood, right? And he did that prayer. Hey, if there's another way, holler at your boy because this is going to suck really bad. And I really don't want to do this. But if this is your will, I'm going to do it because this is why I'm here. And I think that's the perfect example of him being a human, right? Like he wouldn't be
What about,
sweating blood if he was chill.
did he have moments of doubt with his friends?
um, there is
I
a
know he sees the future and prophesies and stuff like that, but it's like, is there anything like Peter does to surprise him? Like, yo, you chop that dude's ear off?
see, yeah, I don't think he was walking around omniscient. I don't
Which
think
is where I was
Jesus,
going next.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like I think if you had asked Jesus, if you got in a DeLorean and went and you learned Aramaic and you went back in time and you asked Jesus about like, hey, could you tell us how to reconcile quantum mechanics and general relativity so that we can have a
Or where
unified
can I get
theory of
another
everything?
1.21 gigawatts?
Or,
Uh,
or he'd be
well,
like, I don't know. Let me see the study on that.
and what's really fascinating is one, I don't think he knew those things. I don't think he was walking around with the formula for how like at what point does hydrogen condense, collapse on the weight of its own gravity and turn into a star, and I don't think he had that knowledge, which is ironic considering he's the word made flesh. He's the logos made flesh. The logos in ancient Greek philosophy was the rational principle that by which the universe exists and operates. It's essentially the same concept that physicists are looking for in their efforts to reconcile quantum mechanics and general relativity, like a unified, like one paradigm that explains the entire universe. That is the logos of Greek philosophy, and he was the embodiment of the logos. But as a man, in Philippians 2, Paul quotes what scholars understand to be an ancient hymn that says, uh, though being in very nature God, he did not consider equality with God something to be exploited. Rather, he made himself nothing by taking the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness, and being found in appearance as a man. He humbled himself and became obedient to death, even death on a cross. Therefore, God exalted him to the highest place and gave him the name that is above every name, that at the name of Jesus, every knee should bow in heaven and on earth and ever and under the earth, and every tongue
Yeah.
confess that Jesus Christ is Lord to the glory of God the Father. So, like, he's fully God in his nature, but this is not in what sense he's God is I think that needs to be narrowed down a bit.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean he was walking around all powerful. He wasn't God disguised as a man, as in those Old Testament appearances. He was fully God and fully man, and his mission as the Messiah, as the Savior, required that he not use his divinity as an advantage. This is not
Here's a
something to exploit.
here's a question, Brian. Based on what you just said, that verse about because he did this, God uh, elevated him. I've never thought of this before until just now. Did Christ have free will?
I
Could
thought
he
that's
have
did he earn it?
could he have refused the cross?
Yeah, I think so, and I think
I
it
think so
says he
too. I
was.
just never
I
thought
think
about it.
he was tempted in every way just as we are. And to Dre's question, yes, he did earn it. Like, I think from that hymn and from other passages, he came into the world as a man. He basically divested himself of any divine prerogative.
Mhm.
Um, he gave up the right to assert his authority as God. Everything he did in his ministry, it's because the Holy Spirit came upon him at his baptism. But the Holy Spirit didn't come upon him because he is God in nature. The Spirit came upon him because he merited it. He
Right. I don't.
he
I
did
don't.
what
I
no other.
think. I think if he was walking around as God in disguise as a man, then the devil wouldn't even attempt to tempt him because he
Yeah.
knows it wouldn't work. Right. So him being a man means that he was vulnerable, which means that Satan had an opportunity to put it to the test.
Yeah, and I think
And he
when
lost.
it
Right.
says
So
that, yeah, so like Jesus being God, he like being at the right hand of the Father, all authority in heaven and on earth being given to him, that authority was not given to him because he's God. That authority was given to him. In John, it says that the Father has entrusted all judgment to him because he is the Son of Man, meaning because as a mortal he earned it. He earned he proved his worthiness to rule over all of humanity. Therefore, God exalted him to the highest place. Um, but about his humanity, um, are you guys familiar? Just off the top of your head, are you familiar with Psalm 69? Um, it's quoted. It's the fifth most quoted psalm in the New Testament. Like when in John 2, when he drove out the money lenders, and he said, the writer said, it was written of him, zeal for your house will consume me. The insult of those who insult you have fallen on me. That's from Psalm 69. It's quoted a whole bunch of times other than that. But if you read, and it's quoted like from all parts of it. Like, there are, like, when he's on the cross and they offer him vinegar, that's quoted again. They put gall in my food. But the point is, like, this is quoted in a way that the New Testament writers convey that this entire psalm is from the first person perspective of the Messiah, of Jesus. And it's got lines like hold on. Verse 5, you, God, know my folly. My guilt is not hidden from you. Um, Lord, the Lord Almighty, may those who hope in you not be disgraced because of me, God of Israel. May those who seek you not be put to shame because of me, for I endure scorn for your sake, and shame covers my face. I am a stranger to my own family, a foreigner to my own mother's children, for zeal for your house consumes me. But it talks about him being ashamed of himself, feeling guilt, confessing his folly to God. Um, Scorn has broken my heart and has left me helpless. I looked for sympathy, but there was none. They put gall in my food and gave me vinegar for my thirst. There's a part where he talks about how he's the song of the drunkards at the gate. Um, so he's sort of growing up a laughing stock and feeling ashamed of himself for we can imagine the reasons, but it doesn't really say. But it if you just sit down and read that psalm and consider that this is Jesus's first person perspective, I find that it breaks a lot of people's theologies. Like they imagine Jesus walking around with nerves of steel from the moment he was born, and he's absolutely sure of himself in every situation because he's God and he knows everything and he's all powerful. But no, it really wasn't like that.
Yeah.
He went through life with all of the same temptations and frailties and fears and insecurities that a normal person does, except with perfect faith, with never
Yeah.
never sinning, never giving into despair or depression, always entrusting it to God, and even to the point of death. Um, so
I was having a conversation with a guy a long time ago, and he didn't know had been in the Marine Corps. It was a online friend that didn't know me that well. And I forget how the conversation got there, but we were talking about fear. I do know it was dog training. So it was a dog training conversation, and we were talking about, fear-based responses and that kind of thing. And this guy's position was that a really well-trained dog doesn't have fear. And I said, that's absurd. I said, fear always exists. And he was like, no, you train past it. And he goes, or he said, no, it doesn't. He was basically assuming it was some kind of an intrinsic skill or an intrinsic ability. And somehow the conversation of special operators came up. And he was of the opinion that Navy SEALs are never afraid. And I said, you are wrong. And he was like, no, they're not. They can't be. And I said, no, you're misunderstanding a training response and like a learned ability to manage one's, uh, you know, chemical production and serotonin and all that kind of stuff. I said, the reason that they're able to operate the way they do is because they're trained to be pre-exposed to all of these different events so that they can handle it in real time. Um, but the point of that conversation, not that Jesus was a Navy SEAL, but is that if he didn't experience all the things you just said, I honestly believe it would weaken and cheapen the crucifixion and all of the other things that he did leading up to the crucifixion. If it wasn't a really big deal, if he wasn't terrified by what was about to come, if he didn't actually feel and experience all of those things, then it doesn't matter. Like it's just
Yeah.
a footnote. It was just like watching a movie, right? Like it was real. He had to have experienced every single moment of that excruciating event. But he also, to all the other things you talked about, Brian, and Dre, your point earlier, like we're wrong, we're kind of jumping to the wrong holiday, but all of his life had to be real. He had to have experienced all of that. He had to be a perfect human. He had to have had the opportunities to be fallen and to not be fallen so that when he got to that final
The
event,
second Adam.
yeah, yeah, it's just like to think otherwise, Brian, I get your point. I think you're right. It probably does break a lot of people's kind of headcanon about like what was really going on, but I just think they haven't thought it through. Because I think when you think it through and get to, what we're talking about, it makes it more beautiful. It makes it more
yeah,
amazing. It makes it more magical.
Which is one of
yeah,
the reasons why I'm not Gnostic. They have this image of the laughing Jesus
Mm,
above, and that there's this duality where they didn't actually hurt him, and the joke's on you, stupid world. But well, how are you saving me then?
hmm
If you could just, you know, it's like Superman jumping in front, like just get behind me. Like, well, okay, thanks, but
Yeah.
you didn't redeem anything. You just
yeah.
moved me along.
Superman's not actually as heroic Peter Parker or Batman because he can
Right.
Because he can't die.
just
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And is ever tell the story? Uh, my two friends who joined the Marine Corps with me, Marvin Thompson, Bobby Dice, shout out. Probably never listened to the show, but we were on my dad sitting on the couch and he's a Marine. So they asked him, they're like, hey, we're going to boot camp. Like, you have any advice for us? So my dad's like watching Star Trek. So
He's like, click. He turns.
he stops and he turns and he looks and he's like, you want advice in Marine Corps? And it's a Vietnam veteran, right? He says, don't let anybody tell you ain't supposed to be scared. You train your way out of fear. And he turned back and
That
turned
was
Star
it.
Trek. That's
He's like Silent Bob. He just like turned and like hit
and
you
like
with some.
my friends are looking at him and they look at me and they're like, that's like the what?
That's the most
Why is it-
terrifying thing we've ever heard.
I don't want to do it now.
And he's a big ass black dude sitting on the couch watching. Like, don't let anyone tell you ain't supposed to be scared. You're gonna be scared. He was like Robert Downey Jr. all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So
What
you
do
got
you
this.
mean, you people?
So that was
That's legit, though. I mean, that backs up
yeah,
all the
right.
stuff we just said. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a separate thought, because we're talking about
I-
Psalms so much. Could David beat Eminem in a rap battle?
Yes, he could absolutely. But he would have, he would have the Holy Spirit helping him.
So he's a cheater. He's enhanced.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
he's
but
the
only,
Captain America of rap battles.
but only because of his faith. So he's justified in that.
So
But
he's more like the Swamp Thing version of rap battles.
I don't know, but
So
but Psalm 69, like it will break your theology, but it will also break your heart. And I think if you read it with that understanding, you will fall in love with Jesus, knowing what he experienced from that psalm. But sorry, I don't know Swamp Thing that
he
well.
walked
I
away.
don't.
There's a scene at the end of Swamp Thing where the site in the movie, the 82 version, I don't know anything about the comic books, but he has a super serum and the henchman or the evil scientist brings his henchman in and he injects him and because he wants super henchmen and
As one does.
the big dude shrinks down and runs and scurries off. So then the scientist like, you gave me the wrong one. I'm pissed. He's like, that's not true. That it doesn't the serum doesn't do anything to you that you aren't already.
It enhances who you are.
Who you already are.
Okay.
So
it's
the fact that
just,
he's a little man walking around in a big body, it didn't do anything. The fact that I'm a giant when it comes to being a scientist, this has turned me into this. And the only reason I'm swampy is because I fell in the dang swamp. So of course, so the scientist dude's like, well, I'm a genius, and he injects himself and he becomes a monster and they have a big fight. But
so it's just like Marvel Super Soldier Serum.
sure. It's funny because that's the analogy I used to use before the Captain America movie came out when I talked to young Marines, talk about, hey, boot camp doesn't turn you into the super soldier, right? It just it gives you the tools to enhance what you already are. There's a lot of people that join the Marine Corps when they're they're young because for all they're weak, right? So they want to be part of this thing and become strong, and that's not what it does. It already it enhances your courage, or it gives you tools to become something bigger. But if you're weak and you stay weak and going to boot camp's never going to change that. You're going to be weak always. It just enhances who you already are.
Yeah,
So then
it's really just a screening. It's a screen for.
yeah. So I told people that like, I don't know what that means. I'm like, then Captain America came out and they're like, oh yeah, I get it now. Good.
I've always said that about alcohol.
Sure.
That people, when they drink, their personality is really just who they are behind the veneer of their social face.
Yeah.
The Bill Cosby himself joke when he's like, what is it about cocaine that makes it so wonderful? He's like, well, it intensifies your personality. He's like, yes, but what if you're an asshole? So like,
yeah.
I think that's a bad analogy for the Holy Spirit, though, because he doesn't enhance what you are. What you are is corrupt. Like that has to die. He remakes what you are.
I wasn't saying alcohol was an analogy to the Holy Spirit. I was saying it was an analogy to what Dre was saying about the Marine Corps.
Right.
Yeah, but that was based on the Swamp Thing super soldier serum analogy,
Oh, okay,
which just
that's right.
enhances what you are, which to
Well,
for David.
but what if it does enhance what you are, it just strips away the parts that don't work?
Um, well, there is a he does remake you, but he doesn't like there is a continuation that it
Well, yeah, I
still
mean, David
is
wasn't
you.
perfect even after he had the Holy
Yeah.
Spirit because he pulled his shenanigans with Bathsheba.
Like he doesn't possess you and like destroy you and then like impersonate you. Like it is you that he redeems. So I don't think that's entirely wrong. Um, but I also think that there is uh, I think that
Well,
I mean the
it's
scripture
not a perfect
teaches.
it's not a perfect analogy, but it was still a
Yeah.
fun story. Most analogies
Yeah.
aren't perfect, so you know,
Fair.
in fact, it's rare that one is.
By the way, I don't think David would be a lyricist. I think he would be a rock star. But
He'd be,
I think you don't
he would arrange the perfect. He'd be the Tenacious D, play the best song in the world. That would be David.
he would do certainly.
he
David's
wrote
like,
some
bet you want the best song in the world. I don't even remember what it was, but it was the best song in the world.
he wrote some pretty dope lyrics though.
Well, but they were all about the music, right? Like some of the Psalms have like footnotes, note to music director, right? Like,
Yeah, like it tells you like what musical arrangement to
mhm,
accompany
yeah,
the song, or like what melody to sing it to.
right.
We might
Um,
need a whole show on Psalms.
We should do that.
I don't think people know that.
We
I
should.
I love the Psalms.
I think Psalms and Proverbs are conflated.
They're what?
Conflated.
Conflated.
People mix them together, and
Uh,
They mean the same thing. They're
like people lump them together, you
yes,
mean?
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Um, I think that Jesus learned about himself, his mission in the world, largely by reading the Psalms, by reading some things like Psalm 69 and
My man's
recognizing
like, oh, got it. I
like
resonate with that.
I
he
think he recognized his own literal firsthand experience in things like Psalm 69 and realized like this was anticipating him.
or he
This
read Psalm 22 and was like, "That
no,
sounds terrible."
I think
God
that
gave rock and roll to you, put it in the
I
soul of everyone.
there's this great song from the 90s by a band called For Him. Um I listened to it recently and it doesn't really hold up as you know it doesn't hit me the same way it did when I was a brand new Christian and I heard it, but there's this part where it says it's called When It's Time to Go, and it says he came in uh came in late one night trying to hide the tears. He realized what he was born to do, and I kind of think of him like reading that psalm and realizing like, oh, like Psalm 22, like that's what's going to happen to me. But I also think he understood from the temple system and of course from the prophets what what salvation was and what it would entail, and then he kind of confirmed it from the Psalms. But anyway, I don't know what point I was making with that, but if you don't know the song, it might be worth a listen. But
So why was the why was Mary being a virgin such a big deal? Why was that necessary?
um, well, I don't know that it was like a cosmic law written that the mother of the Messiah must be a virgin, but he had to be born of God. He had to be he like he had to be fully human, so he needed a mother and a womb to be gestated in, and she had to be from the line of David, and a human father would not be adequate to father the Messiah. Um, but I don't think you know I don't think the Catholics are correct in that sin that sex was inherently sinful and it would have tainted her so that
Right.
she
I mean, Athanasius said that too,
because
as I read your book.
um did he affirm did he deny that she had other kids, or I don't,
He,
it's been a while
I
since I
didn't,
read it.
get that out of it because he only talked about Jesus being in the womb and then moved on. Didn't really speak about Mary other than she had to be not defiled
Yeah,
at the moment.
the Catholics do this
The
whole,
Catholics have gone so far as to say she's never shit.
well, they make it sound as if she wasn't just a virgin when he was conceived. She was a virgin after he was born.
Right.
And it's like,
Which is flat
right,
denied. But I mean, I
there's
know they have
there's
all their ways of lawyering it
there's
up to
biology
Right.
and
say,
then there's biology, right? It's
Right.
yeah.
like we can get to the miracle of conception,
Right.
but birth, unless she had a C-section and they had some advanced science that we don't know about,
In
like
a manger.
right, like she was no longer a virgin.
Right.
But it's one of those things that to me isn't worth the argument. But at the same
Right.
time, I hear it, I'm
Right.
just like,
Like really?
bro,
Well, I
And
do think it that
siblings, dog.
I
Like
do think that if she had been like two kids into her marriage with Joseph, and then the angel Gabriel came to her and said, "Hey, the Lord has chosen you to be the mother of the Messiah," her becoming pregnant would not have been remarkable.
scandalous or yeah,
She might, and there's suggestion in Psalm 69 that like Jesus was being mocked for being a bastard,
yeah.
for not know, and there's things in John that could be taken to suggest that she was kind of the there was some town gossip about like who Jesus' daddy was, and it wasn't Joseph, and that was part of the shame, and she was kind of stigmatized for that.
mhm.
Like in John, when the religious leaders confront him, oh, we know who our father is. Do you know who yours is? And then I know who my father is.
Like
Yours is the devil.
those are fighting words, man.
Yeah, I mean, but I think there's some it. Of course, if somebody wants to be contentious about it, I there's nothing there that I could prove it. But
Right.
I don't know why they would. But
And in which gospel is it when they say, "Hey, aren't you Mary's boy?" Which is in and of itself like you would say who your father is, not
Mhm.
who your mother is. Like nobody's gonna be like, "Hey, Andre, you're son of Linda." Like no. So that's insinuating that I don't have a
Mhm.
father, which I mean he is black. That happens, but come on.
I'm not I'm not allowed to. Look at me. That's how guys who look like me get canceled.
I
Yeah,
snipped last week's comment where you explained that Billy Bob looked like your white grandfather. I thought
you're like
that was a
you
clip.
you think
I was like, racket.
you had to stipulate which grandfather. um, we kind of answered these, but this is one. Is Jesus still incarnate after the resurrection?
Yeah.
I don't see why he would be. I mean, he could be, but I don't see why he would.
So explain that. Like, what do you?
Is he still a dude
Is he still in a human body in heaven?
at the right
Yes.
hand of the Father?
Yeah, I don't think he is. I think he's in his heavenly body. I don't like it.
What does that mean though? What is that
Where is
heavenly?
heaven?
Yeah, I mean, so this is going to become like a metaphysical conversation if we
Right.
dig too deep on it. But he was separate and in the presence of God and all of these things before he was incarnate, right? And while yes, he was resurrected bodily, when he ascended, I don't know that when you ascend, you hold on to that physical body. Like what sense would it make for there to be four people in heaven with physical bodies or three people and that's it?
Like just Enoch and Jesus
Yeah, it's Enoch
chilling
and
and
Elijah.
Elijah
Enoch, Elijah, and Jesus are the only three human bodies walking around in all of heaven, and everybody else is in it.
that we know of that's
Fair,
documented.
fair. Like
Um.
it seems odd to me.
Well, we know he's going
It's
to
not that it's
return.
impossible. Like I'm not
Right.
willing to have a fight about this. Like
Well,
it just
here's
doesn't make sense.
it, it, it-
And where is heaven? Is there a Stargate that gets me there? Is it
I think asking the question is a lot like if we were two-dimensional beings trying to think about the moon landing. Um, it just wouldn't compute it within our range of experience. We could they've developed their physics and mathematics to the level that they understand rationally that there's a higher spatial dimension, and maybe there are these bodies that they've the eggheads call spheres or planets that exist on a different plane than the one that they're on. But it's if you don't have that, if you live in two dimensions and that's your only frame of reference to understand things, then you just can't conceive of it. That doesn't mean it doesn't exist, because I can't explain what it's like for Jesus to have a physical body, but it's also it's a physical spiritual body, um, which is important. Paul's pretty clear about that in 1 Corinthians 15. The problem with that is that we tend to read spiritual body to be not physical body, because we bring this Gnostic dualism to it, where we think of matter and spirit as opposites. Um, but we have spirit. We're in physical earthly bodies now, but that doesn't mean we don't have spirits. We have spirits, but the physical aspect is dominant. He has a spiritual body that includes the physical. The body that was crucified and buried is the body that was raised. The tomb was empty, and it was the body that was raised and appeared to them. And I think that, going back to the whole two-dimensional people thinking about moon landings, um, I subscribe to the B plus theory of time, meaning I think that time is a physical property of the universe. God created time along with space, matter, and energy at the Big Bang. There might be a higher temporal dimension within which our universe exists. But anyway, all of that is to say that I think that when Jesus ascended to the right hand of the Father, he ascended beyond creation, beyond time as we understand it, into eternity, which is tenseless, which is to say there never was a time when a 30 something Jewish man with nail scarred hands and feet and a wound in his side was not sitting at the right hand of the Father. I think that when the 72 elders of Israel gathered at Mount Sinai, um, at Moses' invitation, and they saw the throne of God, and they saw God sitting on his throne. I think that was Jesus himself having ascended to the right hand of the Father that they were seeing, because ascending to the right hand of the Father means ascending to where he says, what if you see me ascend to where I was before, to reclaim the glory I had before the world began. Um, so I don't think there was ever a time when Jesus in his incarnate nail scarred body was not at the right hand of the Father. Which is, might be tough to wrap your head around. And I don't claim that my head wraps around it, but I think that's what it means.
Why why then? Why at that moment in history?
Um,
What is significant about first century Israel and Rome and
Because of the
all the
calendar.
oh, because he had to be born in year
It was
one.
the end of BC and the beginning of AD. Come on,
Uh,
man.
well, you know what? Kate, roll credits. Roll credits.
um, I I think because of the Pax Romana, I think because the Roman Empire, I mean, I think that you had to. Well, I mean, I recognize that if it was in another time, somebody could be sitting here like I am, pointing out all those particular circumstances came
Sure.
together to
And I don't
for the
expect
perfect.
us to know. It's a curious thing, and
But it is an interesting confluence of unique events that it was kind of this perfect storm that made the birth of the church um, probable based on those circumstances.
But but again, that's one of those things where I feel like revisionist history makes that. I mean, if it was to happen right now instead of back then, like it never happened back then and it happened right now, right?
we could
Then
point to so many things that
2000 years from now, he'd be like, well, yeah, because I mean, they had COVID and then they had, the Ukraine Russia war and then
and then
Charlie Kirk
Charlie
got
Kirk got
shot, right?
shot.
I was going there also.
Candace Owens hates Jews,
There's
obviously.
well,
October 7th. Like there's all
Right.
kinds,
Yeah, yeah.
there's always massive events you can point to. And I'm not saying you're wrong, Brian, or that it didn't.
Right,
I
right.
mean, I mean, to answer, when you start answering that kind of stuff, I feel like we can always Nostradamus in the rear view. That's easy to do.
I think as a general rule, I kind of like I that's exactly what I said a minute ago. But when you start like reading history and look at all of the I mean, any given time of history is extremely unique. And
Yeah.
this is kind of going into a point that I was hoping to bring up. Um,
That's why Dre asked the question.
yeah. Um, but it's not exactly an answer to that question, but it's the pagan world before Christianity, the way that they thought of time. I shared I kind of batted this around with ChatGPT earlier in the week, and I sent it to you guys. You may or may not have read it. I'm not offended if you didn't, but a little bit, but I'll get over it. So, um,
Okay, a little bit.
I read a little bit
of what I sent, or just in
of
general.
what you sent. Yeah.
Oh, okay. About cyclical time versus linear time.
Yes.
Okay. So the pagan world, which is to say the non-Jewish world, which is to say the entire world other than the Jews, they thought of time as cyclical. Their religion, their gods, their rituals, they were all about sort of reenacting the cycles of nature. And their in their view of things, things didn't really change. Like they didn't have this idea of progress that we take for granted today. That is a totally unique Judeo-Christian thing. Um, their rituals were about kind of reenacting the seasons of nature as as the gods doing what gods do, as personified anthropomorphized forces of nature. Um, their so their worship, their rituals, their holidays was all about kind of connecting them to this higher time of the gods that's always kind of out of reach. It's not it's humanity's only kind of experiences that um, in these sort of performative glimpses through rituals, but it's not something that mortals ever really are supposed to know. That's for the gods. They're up there on Mount Olympus doing what gods do. We're down here and we're subordinate to nature. All we can do is kind of look up and see what's out of reach. The Bible, on the other hand, is it's progressive. It's about God entering into human experience and dwelling with his people. And when this happens in the Bible, it always irrevocably changes history. Um, God speaks to Abraham and promises him and his descendants a future. Um, Tells him what's going to happen in the future. Tells him he has plans, and so history is moving toward a purpose. It becomes linear and it builds on the past, and which it seems kind of obvious and cliche for me to talk about today, only because we're so influenced by Christianity and by the Bible. The idea of progress is taken for granted as a value, by everybody, really. There's one particular political party that claims a monopoly on it, um, which I think is kind of a Christian heresy. I think they're kind of filling a vacuum left by the church, losing sight of this linear history idea. Um, but the incarnation itself is the culmination of all of these previous divine interventions in Jewish history that built to that point. And you can kind of see, contrary to the way that the pagans thought, every period of history is its own thing, and that it has its own unique circumstances. Like the period when Egypt was the superpower of the known world was a very different time than when the Assyrians were, or the Babylonians, or the Greeks, or the Persians, or the Romans. Because there was this progress to history, and you can see how all of these circumstances of Alexander's empire creating a lingua franca so that everybody in the world spoke Greek, which was a huge innovation, allowing this free exchange of ideas and for cultures to influence each other and literacy to grow, and it also created the perfect environment for the Jewish diaspora. They had been sent into exile by the Assyrians and then the Babylonians, and now they have a common language that's kind of enabling them to get by in the world and thrive in exile when otherwise they wouldn't have. But then the Roman Empire, and they create roads, that and protected travel routes and trade routes, um, that an itinerant ministry of Jewish preachers throughout the Mediterranean world just wouldn't have been feasible without the Roman Empire there, and without the Greek as the lingua franca, and without a bunch of other circumstances that I could spend all night talking about. But it really was this perfect time, both internally within the history of the Jews, but also in the broader world with all of these circumstances, for the Messiah to come and to package Judaism for export, so to speak, and to Judaize the world through the church. Um, but more than anything else, the incarnation, God becoming man and entering into history, um, collapsed time from that kind of pagan cyclical view into a progressive view, so that now you have God's people spread throughout the world, working, or at least we're supposed to be working for that common purpose of building toward the future of God's kingdom on earth. Um, but this whole idea of eschatology, of history moving forward to a purpose, progressing toward a goal, that was totally alien in the world before the incarnation. So if I was smarter, I would have come up with like discussion questions around that, but I didn't think of that.
So what you're saying is Jesus being born is kind of a big deal.
Yeah,
So
I think you got what I was saying.
so Christmas is it's kind of a big deal.
It is.
Um, and I think we talked about why. So I I think it's interesting that we chose this topic in this kind of format on a Christmas episode. I I'm quite sure that if you scoured YouTube right now and looked for any religious podcast talking about Christmas, it wouldn't sound like this.
100%.
So uh, take that with what you will. We thought that that was important and not to give you
Take that, Gavin Ortland and Wes
the
Huff.
the same old, Garland filled Christmas and retelling of, the accounts early in the synoptic gospels.
Do you want me to make this a little more depressing?
No, absolutely
No,
not.
I
no.
really
Why would
want
you?
to.
Why would you do
I
that?
think I want to.
No.
But there's a takeaway to it. It's an edifying depression.
Everything with you is edifyingly depressing.
Thank you.
Why am I laughing at that? That's
I
not
think that's
funny.
it's an edifying depression though. People want to be edified.
I don't want to be
Edify the people,
depressed.
Brian. I don't. I mean, what?
I'm gonna edify the people.
Okay.
I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna
do it.
edit it.
Is
So go ahead.
is it 20 minutes? Is it 20
No,
minutes
it's
worth of edifying?
no, it's pretty quick. Don't edit it out.
Pretty
Um,
quick.
we've kind of fallen back into that cyclical time idea with the church. Like Christmas itself is kind of part of this cycle. Like the pagans kind of live their
Of the
lives.
the traditional
Right.
recounting of
Time
the
to make the
same
donuts.
story here.
We've
Yeah.
turned we've when the incarnation is supposed to be about transforming history, rescuing, and the cycle was in Hinduism, the cycle is a trap. It's the cycle of samsara, and the point is to escape it. But in the Greco-Roman world, any other pagan world, people just live they're just born, they live their lives, they die. It's all part of a never-ending cycle that never changes. That's just how it is. The idea of a brighter future where humanity is redeemed, that's just not part of any other religion besides Christianity. We've kind of fallen back into that, by losing sight of the church's mission. We've turned it into going away to another world for the afterlife, while we kind of just go through the cycles here. And Christmas has become another part of the kind of the seasonal cycle. We've adapted it into those earlier pagan forms of reenacting the seasons, the way they did, instead of moving history toward a purpose. So,
Yeah, I don't
and
I
I'll
don't think I don't think you're gonna get content like that. So if you like what you hear here, of what you're looking at, what you're seeing, hey, give us a follow. We got a lot of mo. We got a lot of mo. It's got more stuff that's just kind of different and non-traditional of any religious talking point show. Um, I Matt, what do you think about that?
I mean, I definitely think we're different. I think that's a given. I mean, from a last thought or closing ideas, I think Brian. I think I agree with Brian. I don't think it's
Yeah,
I don't think it's as depressing as he set it up to be. Um, I've
even though we're wearing black and not being very festive at
I've
all,
had
like
again, y'all's version of festive is different than mine. Now I have a machine gun. Ho ho ho. Um, I've been bothered by American Christmas for a long time, way before us doing this show. Um, I think I might have told this on the show before. I don't remember, but I'll tell it again. I'm sure we have new listeners. Um, it occurred to me, my youngest child is 21. So it occurred to me when he was about 10. So about 10 years ago, 11 years ago, it hit me like a lightning bolt one day that the idea of Santa Claus and the gimmick of Santa Claus, of this fake thing person that leaves you gifts every year, sets our kids up to be atheists. And as soon as I had that thought, I couldn't get it out of my head. And uh, I brought it to my wife, and she looked me right in my eyeballs, and she said, "If you ruin Santa Claus, I will divorce you." Because childhood memories, blah, blah, blah.
sure.
And it wasn't that I laid it out as like this big, like hyper religious thing. I was really at the time, I was really also struggling with the financial outlay. So she heard me saying all of this as I'm a cheap bastard. I don't want to buy a bunch of presents.
Bah,
Yeah,
humbug.
yeah, and we're already this far down the path with our kid, right? So um, I used it as a just a focus to start addressing Christianity and be better about it
So
around the other parts.
you're more of like Carrie, yes, and.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Although I watched a video my cousin shared. Zach, thanks Zach, by the way. I know you listen also. He shared a video where these guys podcasts not dissimilar to ours, and they were younger and they had young kids. And the one asked the other if you've figured out how to reconcile Santa Claus with Christmas, and he said, actually, I did. Here's what I'm doing. He said that he teaches his kids about the true person of Saint Nicholas and what Nicholas did. So both the fisticuffs at the Nicene Convention, but also how he got the moniker of the patron saint of children with using his money to help get kids out of bondage and all that kind of stuff. Um, and that by doing that, then he could put a real twist on this fake person. And then it kind of like justified the mythology, but then it wrapped the mythology back around to Christianity. And I was like, that's actually not a bad idea because then you can talk about him. But you like, now remember, kids, you know how Santa Claus got to be Santa Claus because he was doing all this stuff for Jesus, right? And
Right.
then that way it keeps Jesus indirectly focused. And then that way, when the kids find out that real Santa Claus is fake, they're like, "But wait, was the other part was real?" There's a
Right.
little sprinkle of
Right.
fake on top of real,
We
and I
just
was
made the
like,
real fun. Yeah.
yeah, and I was like, you know what? That might be the way to do it. So I actually mentioned it in the living room yesterday with Alyssa because my
Because you got a
brother,
Susie now.
because John came to me and he goes, "So Matt, how you gonna deal with Santa Claus with Susie?" And I was like, "Hey man, shut up. I don't got to deal with that for at least another year."
Yeah.
I, I just hate that I say this as a childless, 50-year-old bachelor. So
Mhm.
take, take it as you like it. I just hate that we even see this need to reckon that. I mean, the world has their way of celebrating the season, whatever it is to them, and basically like Santa Claus is basically just a rebranded Odin. Like they believe that and the Northern Europeans, the pre-Christian Northern Europeans believe that Odin flied over their rooftops on the night of the winter solstice, dispensing blessings and curses. He was depicted as a bearded old man. He was drawn by he rode on an eight-legged flying steed named Sleipnir. Um, Eight flying reindeer, with a sleigh. It's just same. Santa Claus is Odin.
Which means
I,
Santa Claus is a watcher.
um, well, he's a pagan god that they worshipped on the night of the winter solstice.
Aliens.
We just DCW'd this episode. I love it.
Um, and we're based. I mean, it's Christian. There's this sort of cottage industry of YouTube Christian apologists insisting that Christmas isn't pagan. It was never a pagan holiday. Yeah, it is.
Bruh.
And I don't even care if you can they can lawyer it so that no, December 25th came from this and the pagans are doing this other thing and it's not that. And I don't care if it was pagan and then got baptized and became Christian. I care if it's pagan now. That's the problem. I don't care what they were doing back then. It just so happens 99.9% of what we're doing now it's just pagan nonsense. There's
Is it
nothing.
is it though? Because I think there's room to play games in your house or go to a festival or drink some hot chocolate and look at some lights. And then there's also the church services. There's the
Yeah.
church services that lead up the entire month. There's the men's groups, there's the women's groups, there's the teenage groups, there's the things that you do and you say when you're speaking to people about the season. And I think that it's not that hard to separate. And I get it. I grew up Jehovah's Witnesses, and the reason why we didn't do Christmas is because it's freaking pagan. And they weren't wrong, right? So uh, we talked about the incarnation. We talked about Jesus being born. We talked about Jesus being the savior. So I think that if you lead your home properly, and if you go to church on the Sunday, or a lot of services have actual Christmas Day, so this week it'll be Thursday, and you speak about the things that actually matter, then I think that the fun get your kids interested because of the fat dude, and you're acting like a good boy because you want to get your Red Ryder BB gun. I think is okay, and I think you're right. Being pagan then and getting baptized, as long as it's not pagan now, I think is the right answer, Brian.
Well, but my point is that if you're making it about the fat guy with the elves and the reindeer and all the bright lights, and if what you're calling Christmas is identical to what people who are openly hostile to Christianity are doing, um, you're basically making Jesus incidental to the whole thing.
Yeah, I agree. I don't see it. I don't see it. And I used to look for it because I was so anti-Christmas. Um, I I think there is a difference, and I think that, I mean, if you're secular, you're secular, and it is going to be about that. But if you live in a Christian home or a Christian neighborhood or a Christian community, I think it's more than that. And just for lack of a better word, I'm just gonna say it's okay.
Um, okay by God? Like, or do we think he's okay with it?
So should we cancel Christmas?
Uh, I think that
Should we cancel the pageantry of Christmas?
um I think that Christians should we should make it about Jesus, obviously. But instead of complaining about the war on Christmas, let them say happy holidays, let them say happy Kwanzaa, let them have their own thing. Let them divest of their Christianity to leave Christmas to us, for one thing. And I think that our Christmas should be. I don't think we should involve Santa Claus or other cartoon mascots that are distractions from the main thing. I don't think those things are not a. They're clearly not a celebration of the birth of Jesus. Um,
So
if you,
yes. So yes, cancel the pageantry of Christmas.
I
I think
I
so. Yeah.
I don't think I have less of a problem with Christmas as it is today if the individuals that are Christian are making an effort to bring it back to Christianity. I don't think I think giving gifts is it's like a replacement for the gifts that Christ was given by the wise men. I mean, obviously, frankincense and myrrh and a balm are slightly different from the way we do it now, and it's gotten out of control. But I don't. I think that at least you can kind of connect those two. I think the idea that it tends to be family focused is the real point of it. It you
And
know it's
mostly a fellowship meal,
it
mostly
turns
too.
into a family reunion of sorts. People travel home. They come home from college. They travel home from their where they live and go to their parents' house. Um, and then it gives you that opportunity to have a connection that's meaningful. And it's up to the individual. I have less of a problem with Christmas than I do Easter. Um, I think Easter is a direct abomination. in the way that we do it in America because first of all, Christ didn't tell us to celebrate his birth. But we were commanded to celebrate his last, the Last Supper. Remember this, do this when you're together, right? Those kinds of things.
There's just not a lot of reverence in Easter.
There's no reverence in Easter. And the resurrection is, I mean, yeah, the virgin birth, the conception. I don't mean to yada, yada, yada that, but the resurrection is the coup de grace, right? Like
It's
that's
the linchpin that puts it all together.
yeah, it's the thing, and we don't spend nearly enough time focusing on that. I don't mean to make this an either or a what about kind of thing, um, but I do think, Brian, I do think the being a parent versus not being a parent, I think makes it different. I'm not saying that makes you wrong. No, hang on, let me finish. I'm not saying it makes you wrong. I think it probably gives you more clarity. Right. I'm actually gonna
100%.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you
100%.
some credit on this one that you're not as blinded because the rest of us are trying to find middle
Yeah.
ground. Um,
I appreciate that.
yeah.
And I
And it's
also
difficult to
recognize,
not be part of the world that way. I grew up my entire
yeah,
childhood like that. It's that is so if you were to just go by the Bible, which I grew up in a household that believed they did, like that's a rough road.
mhm.
That's a
yeah.
tough road. And
Whoever
um
tries to save
So
his life will lose it.
so check this out. So in a direct opposition, and Dre, you'll really understand this. At holidays, I've inherited a whole new family because Sam's sisters come here
right.
because their families don't celebrate these
I got it.
things.
Yeah, yeah.
So I didn't just pick up a son-in-law. I picked up two other daughters-in-law and their kids. So I have two more. His both his sisters have divorced.
Sure.
They have kids. One has two. One has one, and then the other one has a new boyfriend, and the other one has a friend that they live with. But they bring all of these people to my house now. So I've become this like new haven for family, and it's interesting, right?
I will say though that as hard as that road was to travel down, because of the difficulty, it was it was easy to dig your heels in.
Once you
Like,
just said this is who I'm going to
yeah,
be, you're just
yeah,
like, you know
you
what?
there was something you can put your back against
Yeah.
to turn around because I have my family here with me
Hmm.
and put your hands up and be ready for that
Yeah.
fight. Um, so
And I don't even think it needs to be a fight. I don't
well,
like
it's a fight
I
against the
don't
world.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
like you don't
so
have to
yeah,
confront people and make
No.
them stop, but just like just the big picture, like I grew up, my parents were great for Christmas and Easter. They spoiled us rotten, got everything I ever wanted and more. Um, but we didn't talk about Jesus. I was 17 years old before I had any idea that Easter had anything to do with the resurrection of Jesus. But I grew up going through these seasonal cycles. Like everybody else, my limbic system was conditioned to feel a certain way when it's cold out and there's lights and there's jingly noises and there's people trying to sell me things. I had that the same excitement everybody has around Christmas. I still feel that now. But Jesus was only ever kind of a footnote to that at best. And so to me now, like taking part in any of that to which he was totally incidental, it's not the same thing as celebrating his birth or his resurrection. They just happen to coincide on those days. I don't partake of all the pagan stuff because I'm only interested in Jesus. And I don't see it as being any more complicated than that. I think it's just like in the Torah, when God gives them festivals and gives and sets up cultural signifiers, like the whole point of the dietary laws, the Levitical code, don't wear mixed fabrics, don't plant your fields with different kinds of seeds, don't eat that, don't eat this, don't groom yourself certain ways. Um, No, I'm not saying we should adopt kosher dietary laws or the Levitical code, but the principle remains that God's people should come out and be separate from the world. Not geographically per se, but we don't, if we're calling it, that Jesus is the reason for the season, but we're doing all the same things with all the same trappings and observances and practices because it's our conditioning from childhood, because our limbic systems are set up to respond that way, but we just kind of say it's for him. I don't buy that. I don't think that's I think all of that's phony, and it's cultural conditioning, and it dilutes the real meaning of it. And I think that I think we're moving farther from him the longer we try to keep one foot in the world and one foot in his kingdom. So
I do want to push back. The fight isn't us forcing people to not celebrate Christmas. The fight is the world coming after us. The fight was my family being ridiculed. The fight was uh my parents being told they were horrible. My fight was that we didn't understand and we're cultists.
yeah,
Our
and I'm sorry,
yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
mean to
So
minimize
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Or
I mean the fight isn't me saying no, you need to be like us. In fact, all the terminology you use with the Levitical code and being of the world or one foot in each, that was the Jehovah's Witness stance. Everybody who's not Jehovah's Witness is worldly, and we need to separate ourselves and be not part of this world. Now, whether the path they took is correct or not doctrinally, but
A
that
different
stance,
conversation. Yeah.
yeah, that stance of the world is exactly the same what you just outlined, and that Jesus's birth was about Jesus's birth, and much more important, Matt, was the Passover, was the death and the resurrection. That was
Yeah.
actually celebrated by
Right.
Jehovah's Witnesses.
Right.
That was an extra service that we went to, and a time for reverence and a
Yeah.
time to understand that
I-
that was it.
Yeah. Look, at the end of the day, I mean, would it be in a perfect scenario, would we have any of this commercialized stuff? Of course not.
Right.
Right. So then the question is, how do you deal with it? Right. And so, Brian, you push back and I get it. Like I said, I respect your point.
100%.
And I certainly get not having a kid, you don't have some of the muddied water that we have to navigate through. Um,
and
it's,
I
it's,
do fully grant it's super easy for me to say
yeah,
these
no, I get
things.
it. I totally get it. It's basically our options are be like Dre's parents, right? Or find a way to split the difference, right? So, like, here's again the way my church is handling it. Our last two services were Christmas services, right? So 2 weeks ago we did the kids service, and so the youth put on a play, a very cheeky, fun play that was the nativity and all of that, right? But like, they overacted and they made mistakes on purpose that were scripted to make it fun. And then, but the two pastors um, kind of bookended it to keep control and make sure the story moved the right way. And then at the end of it, our elder pastor, Randy, came out dressed up as Santa Claus. And the dude actually looks like Santa Claus, right? He's got a big white beard and he's a good sized man. And he told the story of the real St. Nicholas, and explained who the original guy was. He actually did what I was just talking about. He said there was this real man and he did these things and he was a great, and he was made a saint by the Catholic Church and blah, 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 right? But he just talked about why, he was basically doing the kids' version of why Christmas matters, right? And all the kids were in service with us. There was no kids' church that for that service. Then 2 days yesterday was our candlelight service. And so it was designed specifically to talk about why Christ was born and what all that means. And, our version of the candlelight service, they did it in darkness. So we didn't have house lights on. And the whole message was the world was in darkness. And the light that came was God, right? As Jesus. And then, then we talked about that one light moves and talked about Pentecost and this Holy Spirit. And then we lit candles and everybody lit everybody's candle. And then the place was illuminated because we're all lit with the Holy Spirit. That was only possible because of Jesus, all those kinds of things. So, yeah, like the messaging matters. Now, what do we take away from that, right? Do we just go home and sing jingle bells and drink eggnog and overspend on presents, or do we continue that messaging as we're going about our day in life? And I think it's not that hard if Christians were serious about being in church and being around like-minded people. I think that continues to keep the conversation in the right direction. I think it's as much a function of we're kind of going long, and I'm now I'm
Yeah.
soapboxing. So give me 2 minutes, and I'll make my point as quick as I can. Um, there was an old Seinfeld episode where George was concerned about his worlds colliding. He had his friends over from work and his friends at home, and then his family and his girlfriend, and he didn't want his worlds to collide because mainly for him, he told too many lies and he couldn't keep all the stories straight, right? Um, I actually had this thought a while back, probably about 6 months ago, that I have like not you two notwithstanding, because this is different and neither of you are here, but I have probably 3 to 4 small circles of friends, depending on different things, and my brothers and my worlds never rarely overlapped. And I had this thought one day that I don't have that kind of free time. I don't have the energy, the mental energy to manage multiple groups of friends. So I made this decision that I was going to start crushing my groups together. And anybody who couldn't make the congealing of the Venn diagram was gone. Like I just don't have time for them anymore, right? And I focused on the guys at my men's group because we've been going to men's group for 10 years plus. We know each other really well, but we don't hang out. Like we don't do anything social except look forward to coming together on our Wednesdays. And so we started changing that. We did a men's group 2 weeks ago where we went over to Travis's house and we had bourbon and cigars. That was men's group. It was like bourbon night. Um, there's a handful of the guys that go to the American Legion and they do a poker night on Tuesdays. And that's like mostly the guys from the men's group that go do the poker night at the Legion. You
Okay.
know, I've been dragging a couple of the guys from the men's group or one from my Marine Corps league. I brought two men's group, and one of the Marines at men's group I'm dragging to the Marine Corps league, right? And I've invited these guys over to my house for a couple of the last holidays. But my point is if I can't press my Christian circles into my worldly circles, then something's got to give because I can't live in multiple worlds. It's too much. Anyway, I don't know that that was directly on point or not, but that was just like a natural kind of place that I'm
Right.
going to. That if you can't be a part of my veteran circle and my men's group, and you're not family safe, then I don't have time for you.
Yeah, we were wrapping this what half hour, 45 minutes ago.
Matt, you got any
And,
last thoughts?
yeah,
I went
yeah,
down
and
a
if
path, and then we.
and if you're new to the show, that's I mean, if you're not new to the show, you know that's old hat. And if you're new, you're like, what the hell are these guys? Okay, I don't know. Stick around. Stick around. It could be fun. Anything else?
I think I've said enough. Merry Christmas,
Merry Christmas.
Feliz
And with
Navidad.
and with that, I will say stay enlightened, stay curious, and we're gonna see you next week. Even you people that just tuned in right now, we're gonna see you next week too, right? All right. Good night. God bless.